What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crater Lake! Today we're reading chapters 5 and 6 of La La Land, a standard science fanfic by Bekka911. If you'd like to support the author or the fic itself, please use the links in the description below. Also, a reminder, I don't know if any are coming up soon, but all trigger warnings will be in the description also, so please keep that in mind. Thank you. In the description, there's also a Google form where you can recommend fics that you want to see. It could be from any fanfic place, not just Wattpad, it's just the name of the show. It could be from any author, from any fandom. It does not need to be just written by you. It could be by any author, and it does not just need to be standard sides. I know we have a couple My Hero and Star Kid fanfics in that form currently, so if you like anything, period, go right ahead and submit that. And with that, we're going to move on to Chapter 5. He waited for things to change. He waited for the awkwardness, the anger. It never happened, and he left wondering if he'd really made a ripple at all. If a tree falls in a forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it actually make a sound? He wished the tree, falling and breaking and making a mess, but if nobody really stopped to notice them, it's like nothing ever happened at all. Did he contribute to the group? Or was he just a fundamental system Thomas needed to succeed? Prince was sure it was the second one. But if he thought about it, if he really thought about it, he couldn't remember a time where he'd helped the group at all. For a long time, he thought he'd had a place there, among friends. But he didn't. He had no place in a group where he did nothing. He could stand there and he could banter and he could argue and he could add humor, but most of the time, he just made it worse. But maybe if he focused on Thomas, maybe if he stopped trying to be something he wasn't, maybe he wouldn't screw up again. Maybe he'd do something worthwhile. But everything I've done has made a difference, he argued internally. Had it, though? Had it ever done anything that had created a ripple strong enough to actually change anything? Yes. No. I don't know. He didn't know. He didn't know. He wasn't sure. Roman couldn't figure out the tangle inside his chest, and while he was fumbling for a lead, it caught fire and burned away, leaving him with nothing but a hollow certainty that couldn't possibly be anything to the other sides at all. Hey, Roman. It was Virgil, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. Can we talk? Roman hesitated, torn between clearing the air between the two of them and focusing on his work. He must be soft, he mused, as he sat on the bed and motioned for Virgil to sit on the chair in front of him. Of course. The darker trait stared at his hands for a long time before speaking. I know that we all hit a rough patch a little while ago. I was a major contributing factor to that. Logan was as well, Roman pointed out. Anxiety shrugged. I guess he was quite against me existing. I wonder why. It's easy to explain, Roman said. Logan relies on a solidly structured plan to function. Everything has to be exact and safe. It all has to make logical sense, and when factors like you don't fit into his ideal process, he lashes out, because he thinks it's detrimental to Thomas's ability to move through life. Huh. Virgil stared at him for a long time before shaking the idea off. I guess that makes sense. I didn't mean to mess it all up. Of course not. It wasn't your fault. Logan's just a little uptight. They sat in silence for a while, Roman fighting something within himself, and Virgil just there. Why do you hate me? Virgil whispered finally. What did I do wrong? I don't hate you, Virgil. Honestly, I don't. Roman sucked in a deep breath. Look, for a very long time, I was the only side. It was Thomas's curiosity, creativity, his imagination. I helped him create games to play with his friends, and I helped him draw. I was his main function. For a long time, it was just me. Then the others showed up, and gradually I just became a function to him. I had to give up control and start sharing things that I hadn't had to before. So, what about me? Virgil asked desperately. Huh? What did I do? Roman bit his lip, hesitant. When you were created, Virgil, Thomas had just begun to balance everything out. We were working in harmony, and then you were created. Suddenly, every decision we made was second-guessed. Every idea I gave him would be broken down until it was nothing, because what if this happened? What if it tore me apart, and it was starting to hurt me? So, I thought if I could bring you down as well, we'd find a balance again. I can't help it, you know, Virgil muttered. It's literally who I am. And I know that, Virgil, but I don't work the way you do. I thrive on energy and compliments and ideas. I live for excitement and dreams, and when someone comes along and starts to pull that apart, it's jarring and it makes people start to second-guess themselves. You doubted yourself? Roman winced at the blunt question because he'd been dancing the topic for as long as he could remember. There'd been a reason he'd been so up in arms about Derek and anxiety. He'd been there and done that. Not with depression. Princey physically couldn't get depressed. His job, his being wouldn't allow him. So he got a different dark side. He got doubt. It plagued him. Haunted his every step. For a very long time, Roman hadn't been able to shake it, and through that period, Thomas started to fluctuate with his imagination. He got nightmares because Roman wasn't confident enough to give him a steady nothing. It was why Roman needed the attention, needed the compliments. It was why he was so gullible with deceit, because after all that time, he still had a darker shadow that the rest of them, and he couldn't get rid of it. I have to go, he said automatically, shutting down on himself. I've work to do. Roman, wait. Bye, Virgil. He didn't stick around long enough to hear a quiet laugh from the shadows. Chapter 6. Roman Sanders found the answer to his problems 3 days after the confrontation with Virgil. It came in the form of a snake, wrapped in shadows and dark clothes and smiles that weren't quite real. My prince, Deceit drawled. I've been informed you're incredibly overworked. Roman just sighed as he brushed past the slippery side. Not now. Deceit trailed him like a faithful dog, which was funny, Roman mused, because Deceit was really a reptile. Oh, Roman, Deceit cooed. I can help you. Save it. Deceit hummed as he followed Roman into the control room. The royal probably wasn't supposed to allow the other in, but honestly, who cared anymore? I didn't think an exceptional side like you could get overwhelmed. Deceit's smirk fell just a little when Roman snorted in dismissal. But, my prince, surely you are capable of more. You know what? Roman said, turning around sharply. They tell me that I shouldn't listen to you. They tell me you are poison. I've just been too weak to turn away because I need you to live. Roman, I'm honored. I am sure you are, Roman said dryly. Look, as regal as I truly am, I do need to concentrate to succeed. Your absence would be appreciated. Of course. While you're at it, see if you could Wednesday Adams in here. I'll require his minor assistance. Deceit didn't bother to say anything as he slinked away. Roman smiled to himself when he sensed the distaste. He'd worked hard on his part of Thomas's function, and fairly he'd done more than his share, but something in him, some buried ancient part, wondered if it was enough. Wondered if he'd done it right. He tried to push that part away, but it heaved up until he encompassed his mind like a blanket, and it was all he could think. Hey. He jumped, jolted out of his desire thoughts. Virgil! He greeted breathlessly. Hi. The anxious train shifted awkwardly. Deceit said you wanted me. I wasn't sure if he was lying. No, Princey breathed. He wasn't lying. I require your assistance. Roman raised an eyebrow. With what? I have an idea, but I need your anxious energy for it to work properly. Roman waited for the rejection. Waited for a snigger. He tensed. He braced himself for the stinging words that he would hear, but anxiety simply put his hands in his pockets and said, I'm listening. Logan just had to try and ruin it. He argued back and forth with the sides, using illustrations and examples, and then Logan swept in and ruined them all with a boring plan. Prince was getting frustrated. Nobody was listening to him. Nobody cared about his opinion because he was just Roman. He was a dreamer. What could he possibly know about cold logic or serious topics? He was too busy living his dreams to live in the real world. And when Thomas played peacemaker between the two, Roman had never been so angry because it wasn't fair that he pulled back. Logan wasn't reined in, just Roman. Just because he was passionate, he paced his room that night and didn't go out to dinner. Thank you all so much for listening. If you'd like to stay tuned for next week's episode, please subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when that episode comes out. If you'd like to support the author, the links will be in the description below, along with my links if you'd like to support me in my weird endeavors. There's Wattpad, of course, because I have a Wattpad account, Twitter, Instagram, my second channel where I used to go live, but honestly, now that I do all full-time high school theater, plus have a part-time job, it has become a little more difficult. But if you guys really want me to go live again, please let me know, and I'll try to make time. Just a little harder recently. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and much like Roman trying to work with Virgil, do your best.